Hi guys, so what we are witnessing right now is the intentional destruction of the New Zealand dollar by the RBNZ, and in a short while I will go through the reasons why they're doing this. Right now, one New Zealand dollar can buy 87 Australian cents. In April this year, one New Zealand dollar could buy 94 Australian cents. So consider this. You were a young Kiwi in April who decided to move over to Australia with all of your life savings. Let's say you took 100,000 New Zealand dollars. At that time, you could have transferred your money and got 94,000 Australian dollars. Now let's say you delayed your trip and wanted to move right now. You would only get 87,000 Australian dollars. That's a $7,000 loss in just 6 months. And it's even worse if you was going to move more money across. Say you had sold a home in New Zealand and had $1 million to move across. In April, you would have got 940,000 Australian dollars, but now you would only get 870,000 Australian dollars, which is a $70,000 loss in 6 months. And it gets even worse if you compare the New Zealand dollar with other currencies. In May 2021, one New Zealand dollar would buy you 73 US cents. Now it buys you 56 US cents. That is a massive drop in buying power for the New Zealand dollar. And if you compare the New Zealand dollar with the British pound, in January 2023, one New Zealand dollar will buy you 53 pence. Now it will buy you 43 pence. A sign of a weak economy shows up in its currency. But the UK has also got a weak economy, so why is the New Zealand dollar doing so badly? Well, it's obvious really, isn't it? The RBNZ has cut rates too far. The official cash rate of New Zealand is 2.5%. In Australia, it is 3.6%. In the US, it is a range between 3.75% and 4%. And in the UK, it is 4%. So just imagine that these official cash rates are in fact savings interest rates that local banks are offering. Obviously, if you wanted to get the best returns on your money, you would put your cash in the UK because you would get 4% return on your investment. And this is essentially the same for foreign investment. If all of the countries are considered safe for investment, which this lot are, then when interest rates fall relative to other countries, investors can earn higher returns elsewhere, leading them to move their capital out of that country. This reduces demand for the domestic currency and increases its supply, which leads to a weaker exchange rate. So getting back to why the RBNZ is crashing the currency, which it is, there is only one boring old disastrous reason, and once again it's the Ponzi. In New Zealand, everything still revolves around the housing Ponzi, unfortunately, and this old-fashioned way of thinking government are still unwilling to let it go, even though it is sucking up all of the goodness out of everything. The housing Ponzi is nothing but a poison chalice at this point. Lower interest rates means lower lending rates, and the government are using this to desperately try and tempt investors to jump back into a failing housing market. Another really destructive aspect of a weak currency is that everything you bring into New Zealand costs more. So things like fuel, machinery, electronic goods are all going up in price. And what does that do? It adds to inflation. And as we all know, everything that is farmed or produced in New Zealand will use imported fuel and machinery to produce it. So what do you think that does to the cost of food in New Zealand? But don't worry now, exporters will make more money on their exports. And that means they can then dish out all the extra cash as dividends to their investors. So that should make you feel a little bit better, surely. Incredibly, in the UK, the Chancellor is considering an exit tax for people who want to leave the dystopia that her government and each preceding government have created. This could see departing residents face a settling up charge of around 20% on their assets, even if no sale has taken place. So the UK is desperately trying to keep people from leaving. Ironically, the New Zealand government, by making the New Zealand dollar almost worthless at this point, is also going to be discouraging people from leaving. Isn't it amazing? The government wrecked the country through terrible management, try and pump up house prices again, and then make it so people can't even afford to leave anymore. And I have to say, fair play to those Kiwis who cashed in by leaving before the dollar was turned into monopoly money. Not only did they get a decent exchange rate, but every dollar they earn now in Australia is worth a lot more when compared to the New Zealand dollar. If the RBNZ does not change course quickly and start acting responsibly and raise interest rates to crush inflation, then the New Zealand dollar is going to be on an even steeper, slippery slope. But they don't care. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers for that.